Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of the Hicks Flicks Solo Show. I, of course, am your host, Sean Hicks, and I'm here to talk to you guys a little bit on a subject which I hinted on in a prior episode. But first, I want to talk to you guys about something that's a little bit more recent. We just had the NFL draft, and my New York Giants. So you can see that there. My New York Giants killed it in the draft, in my opinion. And as a fan, I guess you could say, very proud and excited of what they were able to accomplish this offseason. I feel like they managed to plug up a lot of holes in their game, and I'm very excited to see what they do next year. I would not be surprised if we make it to the big game next season. So quickly, I'm just going to go over some of those and, compare it to the offseason, which you could see everything that I said in my week 2, 3, and 6 episodes, I believe. I covered those. First round draft pick, the Giants selected Evan Ingram, tight end out of Ole Miss. Now, I don't know much about Evan Ingram personally. Just the fact that I've heard that he plays more like a wide receiver than a blocking tight end, which gives Eli Manning an extra pair of arms to throw to. We got Brandon Marshall, Odell Beckham Jr., Sterling Shepard, now Evan Ingram. You got a wide open backfield full of talent. Now, however, we did have this problem with Larry Donnell, who was more of a wide receiver than a blocking tight end. But what happened with him was unfortunately loss of productivity, along with the blocking numbers. But in the offseason, Giants also did sign Zach Diossi, tight end who used to play with the Minnesota Vikings, who was one of the best blocking tight ends in the league. So we have kind of that 1-2 punch kind of deal. You can line up Zach on the other end of, if you do a two tight ends line, you could line up Zach and Ingram at the same time. Or, depending on which play, you can just rotate him in, shuffle him in. I think that Evan Ingram is a great first pick, as well as, a great addition to the team. We also have, in round 2, Dalvin Tomlinson at the defensive tackle. Now, the Giants needed to find somebody to replace Jonathan Hankins, and I think that Dalvin Tomlinson could be one great substitute for that. Now, I just want to talk to you guys about something. Dalvin Tomlinson is a smart dude. He had a 4.0 grade average in college and had the option to go to Harvard. Turned that down to instead go to Alabama, which is arguably the best football program in the country. So that just gives you an idea. He's a big dude, ferocious talent, smart guy, understands understands strategy, understands the game. I think great pickup. We got Davis Webb from California in the third round of the draft, possibly the future quarterback for the New York Giants. Davis Webb was not contacted by Ben McAdoo before the draft. Ben McAdoo made this pick solely on game tape, and what he saw impressed him. And as we know, or may not know, maybe you don't know this, but head coach Ben McAdoo was on the Green Bay Packers, where Aaron Rodgers sat behind Brett Favre and absorbed all that information. Now we see Aaron Rodgers as one of the more elite quarterbacks in the league. Ben McAdoo's plan as of right now is to let Davis Webb sit behind Eli Manning on the bench, kind of be his lackey for the 2 or 3 seasons we have Eli, and let him sort of soak up the information that way. We have a crowded locker room now. We have 4 quarterbacks: Eli Manning, Davis Webb, Josh Johnson, and of course Geno Smith. I'm glad we picked up a fresh set of hands. I think that, Davis Webb could potentially be the Giants quarterback of the future. In the round 4, we selected Wayne Gallman, a running back. I was hoping we would, because if you saw my previous episodes, I talked to you guys about how we had a weak run game, but I did not equivalent that at all to the running backs. I equivalated that more to the offensive line, which I will get to later. But Wayne Gallman is a good physical runner and a great 1-2 punch complement to Paul Perkins, who, as we saw, was a quick runner. The only running back last season to break 100 yards and he did that all in one game, Paul Perkins. So we have Wayne Gallman now out of Clemson. Welcome to the team. The New York Giants were interested in LeGarrette Blount, but obviously that's not going to go through now. But they're saying that Wayne Gallman is a good substitute for LeGarrette. So we get to see where he gets to fit in and how well he sticks to the game plan. Now, round 5 was a player who had some controversy surrounding him. Avery Moss, defensive end out of Youngstown State. Granted, he does seem to be a versatile back. However, he did have some trouble in college, being banned from Nebraska's campus. Let's just say this guy comes with some downside, but he has stated that he has sought therapy for his problems, and he's really had a chance to find himself. So if that's true, and he's turned a corner, he could be a great cog in Steve Spagnuolo's defense. Now with the last pick of the draft, we traded up 7 picks to get this guy, Adam Bisnawadi, offensive tackle from Pittsburgh. The Giants needed to come away with a offensive lineman because, as I stated in previous videos, it was our atrocious offensive line, which equated to not only Eli's interception rating and incompletion rating, not being able to have enough time to really be comfortable in the pocket and establish rapport with his receivers, but it was also the porous offensive line, which really didn't allow us to establish a running game at all during the season. If we had a better offensive line, there's no telling what Rashad Jennings may have had the chance to accomplish. But we can't talk about what ifs and whatever. So we're just going to look to the future. So in the offense, in the offseason we signed T.J. Flucker as well to a 1-year deal. So the combined T.J. Flucker and Adam Bisnawadi, who both are able to play guard and tackle, and we got some fresh new set of hands to block for Eli Manning. I mean, the Giants are looking to do open competitions for spring training this season to see who exactly stays and who goes. But I think that T.J. Flucker and Bisnawadi could potentially be, what we need up front. Like I said, combine that with everything else I talked about in my other videos, and I think the Giants are really on point to be one of the best teams in the league this season. Now, I'm going to stop talking about the Giants. I could go on all day about the New York Giants, but we're going to switch on to that other topic which I talked to you guys about, and that is, of course, Telltale. I spoke previously about rumors that Telltale Season 2 Game of Thrones is supposed to be released at the end of this year. It was originally confirmed in 2015. Some holdups may equivalent to the voice actors who were coming back to play themselves from the show in this game, availability and whatnot, or, just good old, like any other Game of Thrones thing, just gets delayed and delayed and delayed. But, rumors are circulating now that we may see Season 2 at the later half of this year. After hearing that, I went back to try out Season 1 as I never really had the chance to do so prior. Now, when I first heard that they were going to do a Game of Thrones version of Telltale, and that the voice actors were going to come back and do their characters from the show in this game, I was very excited nonetheless. But what I was expecting and what I got were two different things entirely. I was expecting a true-to-the-story game where you would play as one of the characters from one of the major houses and maybe try to redo some of the situations in the show. Maybe alter the course of history, the Red Wedding. Maybe you stay true to Walder Frey's alliance and you don't go after the foreign girl. The beheading of Eddard Stark, maybe you play as Joffrey and you have the chance to maybe not behead Eddard Stark. Maybe you can play as Eddard Stark and change the way you go about things. That's where my mindset was at. But what we got instead was still a great game. Don't get me wrong. It takes place mainly around the rivalry between House Forrester and House Whitehill. I believe that this was a side story to the Game of Thrones saga. House Forrester was a former House Stark bannerman, whereas House Whitehill was a loyal Bolton bannerman. And the game takes place right at the Red Wedding, so we see the fall of House Stark and the rise of House Bolton. So we have House Forrester, who's trying to rebuild itself after the Starks have fallen, and much of their forces also fell at the Red Wedding as well, versus Lord Whitehill, who being a loyal Bolton bannerman, no doubt knew what was going to happen to the Red Wedding and didn't even bother showing up, or didn't show up in full force, or maybe was able to flee early, or maybe even took part, as we saw in the show Roose Bolton taking part. So the main squabble is over a resource which House Forrester holds. It's called ironwood, and it's supposed to be one of the strongest substances in Westeros, which is super durable and super resistant to flame, which is used to make shields, ships, other militaristic assets, things of that nature. And many people throughout the show are interested in it. I should say game, but it's based off the show anyway. Tyrion Lannister. Since it takes place after the Red Wedding, we know that much of the Lannister fleet was destroyed at the Battle of Blackwater Bay due to wildfire from Stannis Baratheon. So Tyrion Lannister is looking to land a deal for this ironwood. Then, of course, we have the Boltons themselves. Since we were supplying it for the Starks, now they want us to just supply it for them. Cersei Lannister wants it for Joffrey. It's all a big mess over House Forrester was loyal to the Starks. The Starks have fallen. Now they're open prey, and everybody wants a piece of House Forrester. You play as various different characters who represent House Forrester throughout the course of this game. First off being Garrett Tuttle, who is a nephew to Duncan Tuttle, who was a Castellan and an advisor to Lord Forrester, Lord Gregor Forrester, throughout the game. Now, on the way back from the Red Wedding, you are not only given a decree from Lord Forrester, a secret which you have to deliver to your uncle, but you also come across some Bolton and Whitehill men who are tormenting your immediate family, and a sword fight ensues, and you end up killing one of the men in defense of your family. Your family, they tragically do not make it, and so you are forced to flee to Ironrath, which is the keep of the House Forrester. Upon arrival, and upon reporting this to your uncle regretfully has to send you away. So much of because of the fear retaliation from the Boltons and the Whitehills, which as you play through the game happens anyway, but they send you north of the Wall to join the Night's Watch. So most of Garrett Tuttle's gameplay is north of the Wall. Another character you play as is Mira Forrester. She is a character which is her storyline takes place in King's Landing, as she is a handmaiden to Marjorie Tyrell. So that is really where you see the works of Tyrion Lannister and Cersei Lannister to try to get the contract for Ironwood, to give gold to House Forrester, to try to maybe hire some soldiers in defense of Lord Whitehill, and all sorts of things go awry in King's Landing, as things tend to do in King's Landing. Nothing ever seems to go anyone's way in King's Landing. You also play as Asher Forrester, who is kind of like, he's the second son of House Forrester, and he was exiled for falling in love with Gwyn Whitehill. I'm assuming that they bedded each other, and that would of course ruin Gwyn's value, having been, I guess, tainted before marriage. So that almost sparked a war between House Whitehill and House Forrester the first time. So Asher was exiled to Essos, where he interacts with Daenerys Targaryen, the mother of dragons, the breaker of chains, blah blah blah. His whole shtick is he's trying to hire an army of sellswords to bring back, to help bolster House Forrester and try to fill in some of the losses from the Red Wedding, since it seems that conflict with House Whitehill is almost inevitable. And of course, that brings us back to Iron Wrath and the Keep and politics on the home front. You play as Roderick Forrester. Believed to have fallen at the Red Wedding, he actually awakens during episode 2 off of a corpse cart. And so we play as him for most of the rest of the game. In episode 1, you play as Ethan Forrester, third-born son of the Forrester family. And you have to try to make things work until Roger gets there. Now, the way you play Ethan, either he is a coward or either Ramsay Bolton stabs him in the neck. Essentially, Ramsay Bolton, he visits your home, things start going well, and then Ramsay Bolton just switches into Ramsay Bolton, and he tries to, like, take your sister away. So you can either let him take your sister as his ward, or you can try to stand up for him, to which case he stabs you in the neck. He says, "Brave lords are good, but I don't need one." So Ramsay Bolton, either way, really trying to make a show of House Forrester to see exactly what he can get away with. So as, like I said, after episode 1, you take over as Roderick Forrester. Pretty much the entire game, you're trying to secure House Forrester. And the way you play either leaves House Forrester available to survive another day or burnt to the ground. The way I played this game was, unfortunately, I lost like half of the family died. Iron Wrath was burnt to the ground. Because the way you choose is you either choose diplomacy or you choose more of a stand and fight. You know, fight with honor and integrity kind of deal, which is where I went. But more if you cower down and submit to your enemies and kind of like think strategically ahead, you kind of you can kind of get away with probably killing off less people in the family. And of course, Iron Wrath probably won't be burnt down to the ground. But if you don't feel like cowering, if you feel like standing up and, you know, standing your ground, you will probably go the same route that I did playing this game. I'm not going to go over and redo any of my choices. I'm going to let them cower over, as you need your choices from Season 1 to affect your Season 2 playthrough, unless you want to just do a default start for Season 2. I'm not sure what they would do as a canon ending if they're not going to influence your choices. Now, as we know, Telltale Games have the scan system, but also, as we saw in The Walking Dead Season 3, or maybe you haven't played it yet, they now have a system where you can actually manually input your choices and see where the game takes you from there. If they have a thing like that, I probably still won't even do it. I'll probably just get through Season 2, redo Season 1, and then play Season 2 again with different choices. With all these games coming out, we have Telltale's making a Guardians of the Galaxy game. I just want a sequel to The Wolf Among Us. To me, that was really one of the first games that got me introduced to Telltale, besides Jurassic Park. And, that was one of the games that really cemented me as, wow, these guys are really good. They're doing something that not anyone else is doing right now. It's more of a cinematic experience and like an action or a shooter type gameplay coming out. But the story is really what drives these games home. You know, the stories are so well written, and they keep you wanting to know what happens next. It's like almost flipping the pages in a Goosebumps book, where it's like, okay, after you choose this decision, turn to this page. Except there's no wait. You know, you don't have to wait to get to the next page. You just play through the game, and as your choices, the game just splinters out into all the different storyline branches that connect, that cross. It's really, really good gameplay. Like I said, I can't wait to hear more about Season 2, and as I hear it, I will pass it along to you guys. Thank you again for watching, and have a great night. Keep an lookout for more Multiverse Dungeon content between me, Mike Charlotte, MJC TV, more Hicks Flick solo show content, and of course the Multiverse Dungeon podcast itself. And of course, as I've said before, hopefully we get the return of Sean Barry's Pokemon playthroughs, and of course just having Sean Barry on the panel yet again. Have a great night, guys, and thank you for watching the video. Leave your feedback, like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.